Hello, welcome to Walk in the Park. My name is Tony Ingram, and this is episode 152, recorded on November 30th, 2016. If you want to see all of my episodes, you just go to my video blog, walkinthepark.tv, walkinthepark.t, and you can see all of them, plus my shorts, Park Minute and Glimpse of Nature, and other special things. So this week, we are going to, the name of the show, the title of the show is From Gorge to Gulf. And we're going to go to two different areas, our own local area and then somewhere much farther afield that I went to last week. But we'll be down on the water. So, but first let's take a look at our local area. This is an 1873 drawing, or illustration in any case, of Ithaca Falls, in a book by William G. Johnson, Illustrated Guidebook of the Ithaca Gorge and its surroundings. So that's kind of cool. I just ran across that. So we're going to take a look at Ithaca Falls. Now this is what it was maybe almost 10 years ago when it was very dry. We had a drought, whatever year that was. Maybe it was 2008 or 7 or 6. So there's very little water on it. So now we're going to look at the changes in Ithaca Falls this year, because we had quite a drought this year, and it's kind of over. I don't know how the water table's doing for those with wells and springs and that sort of thing, but at least the creeks have recovered. So let's take a look at that. If you visited Ithaca Falls on August 1st, this is what you would have seen. On Halloween, it looked like this. So at least our creeks are full again, and we're getting enough rain for that to be, and hopefully the water table has recovered enough that most people are not having a problem. But I know some areas in the Northeast are still having drought issues. I know my brother in Connecticut hasn't had water for months, and he's really struggling with that in his house. Okay, so let's look at Taughannock Falls and the changes that have happened in it regarding the water flow. From spring until fall in 2016, the Finger Lakes region of central New York suffered one of its longest and most severe droughts. 215 feet high Taughannock Falls nearly dried up. Finally, rains refilled the creeks by late October, though the water table may take much longer to recover. Let's walk up the Gorge Trail to see the big waterfall. Turkey vultures ride updrafts created by the high cliffs of the gorge. So, we have our water back for now, and we don't have our leaves anymore. The fall colors are gone, so that was just a little after image of the fall colors. Now, the drought is the longest one. I've been here almost 50 years, and it's the longest drought I remember ever seeing. I don't know if it's the most severe in terms of the actual dryness at any one time, but it certainly is the longest. It lasted from like March till October. So that was pretty severe, and I think that dried up a lot of the little creeks and springs in the woods. So that probably had a big effect on wildlife that we don't normally see. And there's one animal that I've actually never seen around here, although I've seen it in other areas of New York, which is the porcupine. And I happened to go up the gorge at Taughannock Falls in, I think it was about the 23rd of September when the drought was still on. And lo and behold, let's take a look at this Park Minute. We don't usually see porcupines in public, but during the long drought of 2016, this porcupine visited Taughannock Falls for a drink and a dip. Perhaps his normal sources of water in the woods had dried up, and he was forced to show up at this popular waterfall.
He swam over where the water was coming down.
And he swam back.
You're kidding.
No, he walked all the way there and swam over and swam back.
Oh, now he's
done dry off.
He's done dry off.
So that was quite a treat to see a porcupine. It's been years since I've seen one at all. And like I say, that's the first one I personally have seen in the area, although I'm sure they are around. They are obviously around. And perhaps this one came out to where the water was because many of the creeks and springs had dried up. They're pretty secretive animals. They live back in the woods. So, okay, so this is Walk in the Park, walkinthepark.tv. You can see all of our shows, all of our episodes at walkinthepark.tv. That's the website. So now we're going to go to the Gulf of Mexico. Earlier in the month, I was at a conference, which actually last week's episode 151, I showed some material from that conference. But I went down to Corpus Christi, Texas, which is extreme southern Texas. It's only about 100 miles north of the Mexican border along the Gulf Coast. And if you look to the west, that is to the left of Texas there, you see that Mexico actually rises up quite a bit to the north. So if you go straight west, you run into Laredo, Texas. And I did that years ago, but not this time. And so I went to this conference, and then afterwards I had a couple of days at Padre Island National Seashore. Now, so I'm just going to read you the narrative from the National Park site here about Padre Island. Padre Island National Seashore is located on Padre Island off the coast of South Texas. In contrast to South Padre Island, known for its beaches and vacationing college students, and that's way down there next to the Mexican border, you can probably see there. Padre Island is located on North Padre Island and consists of a long beach where nature is preserved. Most of the park is primitive, but camping is available, and most of the beach is only accessible to four-wheel drive vehicles. All but 4 miles is open to vehicle traffic. Padre Island is the 4th designated national seashore in the United States. North Padre Island is the longest undeveloped barrier island in the world. The national seashore is 70 miles long with 65.5 miles of Gulf Beach, and it hosts a variety of pristine beach, dune, and tidal flat environments, including the Laguna Madre on its west coast, a famous spot for windsurfing. So that's pretty cool. So we're going to let me get away from that. We're going to take a little visit to Padre Island here. Let me just take us down to the park entrance coming from Corpus Christi National Seashore, and there we are at the beach. This is called Malaquite Beach area, which is there's a campground. I camped there. My tent took this selfie, and here they have these nice ramadas or sunshades that over the picnic table, and there is the Gulf of Mexico behind me. My tent, I stuffed that all in my sleeping bags and so forth into a big suitcase. So I had one suitcase for the conference and one suitcase for camping, and hauled them. Now this campsite looks really idyllic, doesn't it? It looks wonderful, and it is, but it's at the very end of this, which is a parking area for RVs. So actually most of the Malaquite campground is set up for RVs, but there are a number of sites. But there also is beach camping. In fact, you can camp up and down the beach. You can drive down and camp. And there's some beach sites, which you'll see in an upcoming video here, where people can camp right on the beach, again having a picnic table and a ramada to keep the sun off them. Ramada, that term ramada, you say Ramada Inn. Well, it's in the Southwest and in Mexico. That means Rama means branch, so Ramada is, I guess, a bunch of branches on a platform to keep you in the shade. So let's go to the beach. Let's go take a look at this video. I've got about a 7-minute video here of Padre Island.
Let's see. Wow, so cool. You use them for fishing. What are you going to fish for?
Not sure yet.
Yeah.
Hopefully use anything that bites.
Well, there's a couple of them.
Yeah. Hopefully they're not husband and wife. They might feel bad. Wake them up for their morning breakfast.
That's very cool. Yeah, got it. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Where are you from?
Upstate New York.
Oh, really? I've got an interview for school up there.
Where?
In about 2 months in Buffalo. Well, it's not upstate, but...
Yeah, I'm in Ithaca.
Oh, okay. That's definitely upstate.
Yeah. Well, Buffalo is western New York.
Okay.
I'm sort of central
Yeah.
western.
Right. Yeah.
So those little shrimp there, those were called ghost shrimp, and I don't know much more about them. You could see that they had these little mounds with holes in them, I guess for oxygen, I suppose. I'm not sure, but anyway, and that was a method of extracting them and collecting them as bait to go fishing. So that young man that was actually a group of med students that were just about ready to graduate and go for their internships around the country. And so part of their program was to go out to places like Padre Island and other wilderness areas. For about a month, they go to different areas which are not just urban types of medical situations, but places where people do get into medical trouble, like in wilderness areas or at the beach or in immigration areas and so forth. So they go down to the border of Mexico, so forth. So that was interesting, really nice group of people. I talked with them for a while. Once again, this is Walk in the Park, walkinthepark.tv on Ithaca Channel 13 Pegasus, public access television in Ithaca, New York. And so let's take a few more pictures of Padre Island and explain a little bit more about it. This is the Visitor Center, Malachite Visitor Center, bathhouse, picnic area, beach access. So this is the main place that people go when they drive onto Padre Island. And there was this little sign there, important bird area. There's a number of spots around the country which were particularly important for the survival of birds, and perhaps they're pretty rich in bird life, and this is one of them. So the Padre Island is a bird mecca. People come down there to see all different kinds of things, including birds you can see nowhere else in the United States. Many Mexican species are down there, and I saw a few. And at 9:30 in the morning, and also I think like sometime in the afternoon, each day, or at least Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, they had a National Park Service bird van go out into various parts of the island to look at birding areas and see what we could see. So I did that. It's run by volunteers, and we were out looking over this plain here, and we saw some white ibises and some sandhill cranes, and we also saw a couple of coyotes. And so I saw a lot of different birds, about 25 different species in that little outing. And there were some birds that I saw there that I had never seen before and couldn't see anywhere else, including something called an aplomado falcon, which if you look on the bird map, only exists in southern Texas as far as the United States is concerned. Then we went over on the bay side, and we saw these are white pelicans. An interesting thing about white pelicans is that in the summertime they migrate to what's called the prairie pothole country in the northern Midwest, up in the Dakotas and up into Canada and so forth, and on lakes up there, glacial lakes. That's where they nest. So and raise their young, and they come back down to the warmer waters, like in the Gulf of Mexico and off of Florida and through the Caribbean, I'm sure, to nest. So Padre Island National Seashore, you may want to visit it someday if you go to South Texas. I highly recommend it. 70 miles of undeveloped shoreline, the longest undeveloped barrier beach in the world. So Padre Island, that was a lot of fun. So anyway, we are got a couple of extra minutes here. Let me go down. We are entering the end of fall, the last month of fall, And we had our first snowstorm before Thanksgiving, and now things have warmed up again a little bit, and the snow is gone, but it'll be back. So I'm going to be indoors a lot, working on shows, working a lot of material that I shoot during the season with cameras, and going out less. Although I go out walking a lot. I walk in the park and take pictures, and you'll see some of that stuff. But I plan to show you a lot of interesting things. So what else can I talk about in the last couple of minutes here? Not sure. Let's see if I can give you any more details about anything. Well, that's probably pretty much it. The Gulf of Mexico. Yeah, if you look at our last show, episode 151, there's a talk by a guy named Larry McKinney, who is with the Texas and A&M University, and the Heart Research Institute, and he gave a talk at a conference I was at on science in the Gulf of Mexico, but interpreting science in the Gulf of Mexico and the state of that science is in our country right now, that needs a lot of help by people like me that interpret or educate about science and our environment, as well as history and other things like that. So, okay, well, that's pretty much it. I want to thank you all for joining me here, and we'll see you again soon. I hope you stay warm, stay dry, and I hope you had a good Thanksgiving holiday season. So we'll see you again soon.